one or two sane people in government. I usually put Rand Paul at the top of my list, and yeah, Rand Paul's not happy about it.
I brought with me the Omni, 4,155 pages. When was it produced? In the dead of the night, 1:30 in the morning when it was released. Now, people argue that it's conservatives' fault. You don't have the Christmas spirit. Somehow you're holding up government. Well, whose job is it to produce this? The people in charge of spending. The people in charge of both of the parties. When did they know that this would be necessary? Well, it's in the law, September 30th. You got 9 months, almost 10 months, to produce a plan, to have a spending plan. They weren't ready on September 30th, so they voted themselves 90 more days. They weren't ready last week either, so they voted themselves another week. And now we have it at 1:30 in the morning this morning. But what's the clamor? The clamor is to vote. Vote now. Let's get it done. Why are you standing in the way of spending? Well, the real question is this. What is more dangerous? What is more dangerous to the country? $1.1 trillion in new debt, or as Republican leadership likes to say, oh, but it's a win. It's a big win. We're getting $45 billion for the military. So which is more important? Which threatens the country more? Are we at risk for being invaded by a foreign power if we don't put $45 billion into the military? Or are we more at risk by adding to a $31 trillion debt? I think the greatest risk to our national security is our debt. The process stinks. It's an abomination. It's a no good, rotten way to run your government.
You know what's interesting is that Mitch McConnell, as you know, is from Kentucky. Rand Paul, as you know, is from Kentucky. I have a feeling these guys don't have dinner that often. Yeah, everything that Rand Paul said there is true. The way they frame everything, the time they have to do it, and then they try to jam it through, and nobody's read it, and they send it to you late, and all of that stuff. You know, I obviously I like Rand Paul a lot, and I saw him in D.C. a couple weeks ago, and we interviewed him again. It's interesting because, and I sort of tried to say this to him sometimes, it's like he's kind of like the sane guy who accidentally got thrown into the mental institution. Right, so everyone in D.C., Republicans too, they're all just awful. Everyone does all the wrong things. Like, they just don't care. Nobody is willing to take the slings and arrows. And I'm talking at the federal level because obviously I'm not talking about the state level where there are good things working. Florida. But he's the guy who they accidentally admitted to the mental institution, and he's trying to tell everybody, guys, I'm not supposed to be here. There's ways better. We can do this thing. We don't have to drug everybody. We should try some other therapies. There's, okay, and I know this guy's talking to himself, and this guy's whatever, he's a glutton for punishment. But he's basically like one man standing there as the tide gets higher and higher, going, guys, we're all going to drown soon. Does anyone want to get some flip flops or what do they call those things? Little things that go on the kids' arms. Not little floaties. Thank you. Here's a picture that Rand Paul tweeted out. That's the size of the bill, 4,155 pages. Nobody has read that freaking thing.